lot of familiar faces. A lot of familiar faces. Hi, Susan Shaloni, Lenore, just very, folks that I've seen, been working with for a while that have had great success with grant writing and some of the things that I'm going to share with you today. So if you could share the first slide, the first two, and then we'll look at the agenda. And then I can share with folks just as a preset what we're going to do today. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Nicole Jean Christian, and I've been working with the Miller Business Center in the Middle Country Public Library for close to 10 years now. It's time flies. This was the Summer School for Nonprofits concept came to Elizabeth and I during a creative session during the pandemic. Right after the pandemic, when we went back in person, we said, everybody gets to go to summer
No,
camp.
actually, after I seen the
What
video, I was
about
doing some social
nonprofits?
media. I
What
was
about,
looking at you
who's
playing the
that,
room.
Eugene? Let me mute him. All right. So thank you for making me co-host. Sometimes people forget. And so this idea came out of, everybody gets to go to summer school. What about us in the nonprofit industry? So this is a way to retool, recalibrate, and refresh for the fall. This is the idea. The idea is for me to give you some elements that you can utilize instantly in your fall planning. So as you know, grants follow a cycle. So the cycle right now is application. So from July till November is usually the height of grant writing season. So this is your time to be identifying grants, identifying and solidifying partnerships, putting your files together, documenting. The summer is usually what I consider like my squirrel phase. Like you look at the squirrels in your yard right now, they're all running, gathering, building up, stuffing their cheeks with acorns, piling them up. That's basically what I do in the summer. I'm constantly out talking to grant agencies while grants are not open, when it's not a conflict of interest. Usually they open around the fall, but the summertime is when I'm meeting with them. I'm purging files, I'm creating new documents, etc. So I want to say first, thank you to the Miller Business Center, Elizabeth Malafi, who is an ambassador and a leader in this effort to continue to build the success factors for nonprofits. And I want to thank all of you for attending today. Next slide. So there's 4 pillars that I'm going to leave with you today. There's 4 pillars of grant success. First is targeting.
I apologize.
That's all right.
I don't know why I always have problems with this.
No problem. So there's 4 pillars of success, of grant writing success, and it starts with targeting not only the right funding opportunities. We're not talking about that. We're talking about targeting your population, being able to target your population clearly and your audience. So your participants are your audience, so targeting them appropriately. The second is identifying the opportunities that are available to address, complete, and implement a program. And then finally, measurement, measuring and publicizing the results, which is what most nonprofits do not do. They get grants, they complete a program, they write a report, and they close the book and turn the page. And they forget the final step, which is measurement, evaluation, and then publicizing the results. Next slide. So a preset for today. What are we going to do? We're going to start with a success visualization. You can participate or not, but I believe that centering what you want and how you want to achieve it is important to grant writing success. So I'm going to lead you through a success visualization that you can do at the beginning of every writing session that you begin. Then we're going to have a quick chat drop, introductions. We're going to hear a little bit from each other about who we are, where we're from, and what we're looking for. And then we're going to talk about activity 1. So you were sent an activity sheet, and I asked you to describe your population or your target audience in 3 or 4 sentences. And then we're going to talk about program design. What are your participants going to do, think, or learn? Because that's the key here, is what is the participant going to learn? What are they now going to be able to think? Or what are they going to be able to do? What skills are they going to get? And then finally, the last few, targeting the problem. So what problem are you solving? And what impact does that problem have? Does it have an impact regionally, locally, nationally, etc.? Scroll down just a little bit, please. And then targeting. Where are the grants? Where are they? How do we find them? Your goal, objective, and outcome. We will share a little bit about how to develop and focus on your goal, your objectives, and your outcomes. We will review the sections or segments of a case statement or problem statement or need statement. They're named by, they have different names. And then I'll show you a grant proposal sample. Any questions on that? So make sure you have your activity sheet out because we'll definitely go back to that. So just take a moment to take a deep breath.
I put,
Yep.
Nicole, I put a link to the activity sheet
Oh,
in the
good.
chat if anybody didn't download it. So it's there.
Yeah, please take a moment if you can to open up and have in front of you that activity sheet because we're going to use it as soon as we finish with the visualization. Thank you, Elizabeth. So just take a deep breath through your nose, out through your mouth, once or twice. I like to close my eyes a little bit and just visualize the population that I am supporting. So thinking about the grants that you would like to be awarded, who are they helping? We'll take 30 seconds. Just visualize your population and serving them. Thank you. Next slide, please. So the reason why we do the visualization is to really give you an opportunity to be kind of detailed and specific about what you want to accomplish. I have worked with a lot of clients that have really been dedicated and passionate, but also ran in circles when it came to trying to put together a really great grant application because they weren't clear on what their program actually did. So it's really important to know what your program is going to do. So now let's get right into our first activity, chat drop. And you can put it right in the chat. Any or all answers to these three questions, any of them or all three. What industry are you a part of? What do you struggle with most? And what are you truly great at as an organization? Just put that in the chat. And I'm going to participate too.
Environment.
So you can put in the chat. What industry are you a part of? Do you work with youth? Do you work with seniors? Adult literacy? Thank you, Susan. Local parks. Cancer prevention for underserved and uninsured individuals. Business professionals, and very new, this is what I'm hearing a lot about, is cannabis. The cannabis industry at all levels and performing arts. What do you struggle with? Is there a particular aspect of grant writing that you struggle with? Thank you, Yvonne. Women and girls empowerment. And I wrote the same thing that Susan wrote. I didn't press return. I said finding funding for operations. And Elizabeth wrote finding funding to expand programs. Hard to identify funding. Yep. Manufacturing, bioindustry. Yeah, finding partnerships. Let me just write this down because we're going to go back to this. I'm just going to make a note of this. So finding operating funds, general administration, and expanding programs is often a challenge. And I can give you some insight on how to address some of those shortfalls. So what industry are you a part of? What do you struggle with most? What are you truly great at as an organization? I put that I was a lot of organizations I work with, they're really great at hosting events, supporting volunteers. Some folks just know how to put on a really good event, training and supporting volunteers. So it's important to know where you are in this process, it's important to know where you are. So we want to know what industry we're in so that we can start building partnerships in that space. So if you are in the area of girls empowerment, it might be a great idea to partner up with other organizations that serve women and girls, because you can lean on each other to share expenses, and you can lean on each other to enhance the success of events. So very important to have an industry specific database. So I have a database that I keep for grants in general, and then I have a database of resources, which are partnerships. So I think you should think about both of those. Think about both of those. Always difficult to find volunteers. And often it's really a matter of timing, and what people can commit to. And what do we struggle with most? Is finding that funding for operations. How do we expand programs? How do we find funding for operations? One of the recommendations that I make to many of my clients, which is very successful, is it's almost like the concept of a tithe. So in religious and faith-based circles, there's this idea that you give 10% back to whatever you bring in. That's a principle that I apply even in the grant writing world. So whatever grant you win, if there is a way to set aside a portion of that for you to utilize in your operations, that's something that you can negotiate with a grant awardee. So in other words, if I write a grant for $100,000 to promote public programming, maybe there's an art or cultural organization that's seeking to do some programs and they get $100,000, you can often set aside a percentage of that for administration. And administration is targeted, meaning you pay a person or an expense. So it doesn't just go into your coffers to pay your light bill. You pay a person or a specific expense. So you agree to that ahead of time. That's something you can find out in early, before and during the grant application process, is, are you allowed to set aside a percentage for administrative costs? And what are you truly great at? Hosting events, getting involved in the community, boosting membership. These are all excellent characteristics to have. What are you really great at is important, because again, we're going to talk about those two databases. So one is for, you would have one database that would be for any and all grant opportunities, and then a database or a spreadsheet for any and all applicants. So a database, you want to have a spreadsheet of every grant opportunity that you'd like to apply for, and then a spreadsheet of potential applicants or partners, people in the community that you would see in the past as a competitor. You know, we're not going to call them competitors, we're going to call them potential applicants or partners. Thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So now we get into the second activity, is about your population. And this is really, really important, and we often miss this. So on your activity sheet, on number 3, describe your target audience for the program, you know, target audience or population. Can you share, you can unmute or put in the chat, anyone, a little bit about your population. Who are they? Where are they? And what is their lived experience? You can unmute or you can put it in the chat. Who are your target audience? Who does your program help? Young women and girls, I see here. Young women and girls, consumers, millennials, all the way to baby boomers, adults with low literacy skill, small businesses and entrepreneurs, consumers, local residents after COVID. Very good. Women and girls, thank you. So your population, really, really critical. As you all know or may not know, I've written and been awarded grants close to $60 million now. Now, as of 2024, about $60 million. One of the one of the areas that I got the highest amount of points for my applications was always in the needs statement, because I spend a lot of time describing the population. So thank you, Dewan. Uninsured individuals with no health insurance from 40 to 74 who have recently immigrated or have no citizenship. This is excellent. Detail, specifically describing who your population is, where they are, and what has been their lived experience. So Black, brown or Black Latinx young girls between 4th and 5th grade in Southampton, New York. Be very specific about describing your population. So who are they? Where are they? You know, where are they located? Where do they operate, and what is their lived experience? So Burroughs said marginalized voices, including those from the Caribbean and African-American poets and writers. K-8 students with learning challenges. Really, really critical. When I show you the grant sample at the end, you will see that the population is described very early in the application. So when you receive an application and it says describe your program, and then it says describe what you will do with the funding, that's where they're asking for a description of your population. Any questions or comments about who is your target population? So 3 key points. Describe your target population's demographics, their age, anything about their race, ethnicity, economic background, and their geography. Where are they located? So again, Latinx and African-American teenage girls from grades 4th to 6th in Southampton elementary school districts. So be very specific. Their age is important. Their demographics, so ethnicity, socioeconomic, and ability. Someone here was talking about those that are uninsured. Pregnant women, so describing age, race, and geography. I'm just going to put that down. I'll say age, race, and location. The Miller Center, as well as now also I shared, I was talking before we started this, the Miller Center and the Foundation Center, but the Miller Center specifically, you can log on to databases that can help you identify very specifically your target population. So if you have a program that you want to introduce to the community and you're looking to target a certain population, the databases in the Miller Center will provide that to you so that you can more clearly describe your population in your applications, because you can't help everybody. Next slide, please. Oh, yes, the program is being recorded. Yvonne wanted to know if it was being recorded. Absolutely. So program design, this is number 1 on your activity sheet. If you go to number 1, what activities will your participants complete? Name at least 3. What will participants learn, do, or think, or enhance? Name at least 3. So I've given you now your objectives and your outcomes. The objectives are activities. Outcomes are what is going to actually happen to the participants afterwards. And everyone always gets this mixed up. So when the application says describe your program, what are participants, or what is the population going to do, or what is your program outcomes, or what are your, it'll have all different kind of wording. It can say, what is the proposed outcome of your program? What and why should we support you? These are all ways of asking, what are your participants going to do? What are they going to learn? What are they going to think? So I always say the power of three. What are they going to do? What are they going to think? What are they going to learn? Are they going to increase their literacy capacity? Are they going to increase their financial literacy? Are they going to learn and actually apply financial literacy to their spending habits? Are they going to develop a budget? So specifics, very specific. So program design, what are participants going to do? What are they going to learn? What can they think? And so we look at activity numbers 1 and 2. If you want to share in the chat, or you can even unmute, can you share any of, based on what your grants are right now, is there a particular outcome that you have already accomplished? Have you already accomplished a particular outcome? I'm just curious. You could take a minute, put it in the chat. And that's what will participants learn, do, or think. That's the outcome. Those are the outcomes. Very important.
Can I just say it? That's a lot to type.
Mm-hmm. No problem. You could do shorthand.
Okay. So our
Oh, you
program.
could, yeah.
Oh, put it in the chat. Okay.
No,
I
no,
didn't
you
see.
can say it. No, please unmute. I was
Oh.
saying yes, please. Thank you.
Oh, so our program, our goal is to reduce the mortality rates in underserved populations and uninsured populations. So what they do is they get educated on the importance of cancer screening and the importance of self-advocacy, because a lot of times they have low self-esteem, which is why they don't feel worthy to stand up for themselves, or, everybody think that doctors are gods and everything like that. So we have to teach them and empower them that it's your health, it's your life, and you need to take responsibility for it. So we do that through doing presentations and trying to build up their social skills, learn the terminology, learn what they should be asking, what they should be looking for, if they're denied a test that they're requesting, to get that documented, all of these things. So we do that. So they'll be able to think, a little bit better about how their healthcare journey is supposed to go, and, realize that they're in control and not the medical professionals. Yes, obviously that they need the services, but at the end of the day, it's still your body. And I'm like, if they make a mistake, that's at your cost, not theirs. They're going home to their family while you're messed up. You know what I'm saying? So you have to take responsibility for that. So they learn how to, just take more of a, I don't know, like take more care in it and more responsibility,
Active role.
and to think differently, that doctors are not gods, and like, this is something that you need to do for yourself, and to actually go through with the screening, get the actual screening done, and to keep it going for however long they need to, whatever, we stop at 74 paying for it, but I always tell them, if you can get there, get there, and until the
That's
casket
right.
drop. Okay. Yeah. So that's what
very
we do.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dewan. That's good. And Elizabeth, you can stop sharing for a moment. I think this is a good part for us to talk about. Let's take 2 or 3 minutes. Thank you, Dewan. I put in the chat when Dewan was talking, I wrote a little bit what Dewan was talking about: reducing mortality rate in uninsured populations through screenings, enhanced health advocacy, learning terminology, and empowerment. So if you are in a space or working in an industry where you're looking to receive grants to enhance knowledge, skill of a population, then an evaluation plan is really, really important. So surveying the population before your program, and then surveying them after to measure what they've learned or to document what they've learned is really critical, because then you can use those results in an application to show that your program worked. So in the case with, I'm looking here. So in the case with, hold on one second. I want to find the name properly. Dewan. So in the case with Dewan, if we're looking at it for empowering patients or empowering folks with the knowledge, skills, and resources to make better informed health decisions, if that's something that we're looking to do, it's really important to survey the applicant, or the participant before and after, so that you can showcase in the next application or in other applications how what you've done has made a difference. So how do we show, any idea, and you can unmute, how do you show that you have provided empowerment to someone? How do we show that someone is empowered by something that we've done? What are one of the ways we can measure that, or at least show it? And this is this is not a test, please, this is important. You can unmute and just call it out or put it in the chat. I think there's a message here. Outcomes could be entrance into the workforce. Very good, thank you. Better employment, navigation, consistency in their screening records. So exactly, so it's important for you to create, and just I recommend, and you're going to see at the end today, the evaluation plan is a table. It's a chart. It's basically just a very simple Excel spreadsheet that you can put in the Excel spreadsheet specifically what and who is actually going to, hold on one second. Yep, here we go. Yep, so we can actually take an evaluation plan. I usually just do a chart, and on one side I put the outcomes, and on the other side I put the measurement. So here the outcome would be improved literacy skill, and perhaps the measurement is that they can read now at the 11th grade level. They can fill out a job application. Maybe the measurement is, or maybe the outcome is entrance into the workforce, and then the outcome is that they keep that position for a year, or they get a promotion. So finding a way to document and identify how you're going to measure whether or not your program did its work is what they call an evaluation plan. So to Dewan's point, for someone who's working in the health advocacy space, who's looking to empower individuals to make better health choices, we can do a very simple survey. Right at the beginning, before a program starts, we can ask some very simple questions. And then afterwards, we can ask questions maybe in another 3 to 6 months, and we can compare the results of that survey. Surveys are excellent for evaluation. So surveys before and after, make sure you think about that. If you're working with youth, a really great way is through art. So if they can draw, do a collage, write a poem, write an essay, present in a fair, an exhibit. Like I'm working with a youth group right now. They have an exhibit 3 times a year. They do STEM, then they have an exhibit about self-esteem, and they also do one specifically about jobs, getting jobs in the workplace. Cleopatra says she works as an ESL teacher where students are immigrants. Many are undocumented. So empowering and educating them on the resources that they can have access to, including healthcare. So these are opportunities that you can very simply survey your population before and then maybe after. So maybe you do a survey in the beginning of September with your population, and then you do it again in 3 months, and then you compare the results. So if you're an arts organization, Jan said our only metrics are membership numbers and attendance at our events. That's fine. Membership is excellent. Attendance at events is excellent. Another one that I've been using lately in these sections of the application, when we talk about activities and outcomes, is we do polls. I recommend polls right on site when people are there. So you have an event and you post a QR code and ask 2 or 3 questions about the participants at that particular event. Do they like it? What do they like about it? Was it something that they would return to? These are real quick snapshots that you can use to get a feel from your audience and attendees, that you can put the results into a grant application that says, you know what, we did this last year, and this is what worked. This is what worked, and this is what didn't. So I think I'm glad we took those few minutes. Any questions about the population and about outcomes and objectives.
Nicole, I just had one of those moments, like an aha moment,
That's good.
because New York State Ed requires us to follow up students 2 quarters after they exit our program as far as are they employed. And I've always cursed New York State Ed for making us do that because it's finding these people, calling them, speaking to them. They don't always want to talk to us, but you just gave me a reason that, I can use that.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I never, ever thought about that before. So I thank you.
That's good.
I'm good now.
That's good, Susan. You
Yeah, no,
see,
that's great.
they asked us to do something in New York State and we get like, what are we using this for? What's the big deal? And the big deal is the state utilizes these approaches to determine if they're spending their money well. Is
Mhm.
the program doing what it's supposed to do? So it's not enough to say, I want to teach a person to read. When they learn to read, what do they do with that skill? That's the outcome. So if you want to empower young people, empower them to do what? Make better decisions about their finances, their future with work, achieve better in school, be specific as possible. Define again objective and outcome. Yes, objectives are activities. Outcomes is a measurable result. Thank you, Burl. Your objectives are activities. What are your population, what are your participants going to actually do? Are they going to be with a tutor every week? Do they take class every other Friday? Are they going to work on a shared portfolio? Are they going to shoot a video and learn videography? Objectives are activities in the grant world. Not in our world, we look at objectives as a goal. Objectives are activities. And I'm going to show you, we're going to get to the slide and I'm going to show you the pyramid. The pyramid, goal, objectives, outcome. You're going to see, we're going to see that soon. Okay, Elizabeth, can you put up our slides? Thank you so much. This was good. I'm glad we did that. So I think we're on slide 8. What is the problem? Yeah, what is the problem? And this is where a lot of my clients, I spend a lot of time with clients on this. We actually did a workshop, Elizabeth and I, because we spent so much time on this in a workshop that we actually did the problem statement for 45 minutes. We sent out an activity sheet and the folks came to the session on Zoom with it already completed and we edited their problem statements. I think Susan Shaloni was in that. I think it was about 2 years ago, a year ago, and it was excellent. We may need to do that again. The problem statement. So when an application says, describe the problem, or what is your needs statement? This is what they're asking you to do, is to describe what problem are you solving? What problem are you solving? Hold on 1 second, excuse me. Yeah, this is my handy. I have my proposal writing book. I got to put this in the chat. This is a beautiful, very handy guide. Be careful of circular reasoning, okay? Circular reasoning is when you argue that a problem is the lack of service that you are proposing. So for example, someone may write in a needs statement, the problem facing many teens today is that they do not have access to a teen peer support group. Okay, let me say that again. Circular reasoning is when you argue that the problem is the lack of a service that you're proposing. The problem facing many teens today is that they do not have access to a teen peer support group. So lack is not a problem. That's not what the problem is. The lack of something or not having something is not the problem. It's a symptom, but that's not the problem. So you made this, so consider writing a needs statement that addresses not only what the population is experiencing, but why a program or what you're suggesting solves it. Okay. So that means you have to know what the impact, what is the effect of the problem? That's where you get the statistics and the positive and negative outcomes and the ripple effect. So what is the ripple effect of folks that are not empowered to make effective, proactive health decisions? Dewan, tell us, what's the ripple effect if people do not make empowered decisions about their health?
Sure, I would love to.
Mm-hmm.
So in dealing with the cancers that we deal with, most of them are genetic. So if you don't find out what's going on with you, if you have children, they're not going to have the opportunity or the knowledge or the resources to find out what's going on with them. So
My
then it
goodness.
could increase their rates tremendously because they're not doing preventative care that you should have done. So I always tell people it's your responsibility to take care of the generations that's coming after you, but it starts with you. What's in your DNA lies in their DNA. So to
Wow.
me, that's the ripple effect. So now the mortality rate is what we're trying to reduce, but also just the cancer rates in general. And just getting the knowledge and the resources out there to help somebody, it also helps generations to come in the short.
Mm-hmm. So generational health equity. So we're talking about generational health outcomes. Very good. Thank you, Dewan. So the ripple effect, if this problem goes unchecked, is that there could be multiple generations of health inequities, which increases the financial burden. And there's many reports now that are saying the sicker we are, the weaker we are as far as our workforce. That preventable illness, it can drain the economy, the impact of preventable illness. So you got to get into the statistics. And then solution. How does your problem disrupt that paradigm? How does your program, so they always think proactively, how does what I'm doing disrupt that paradigm, that process? So let me reread. I think I read to you the circular argument about the team peer support. This is a better written need statement. An adolescent spends an average of 3 hours per day in contact with other teens in school and after school activities. Research indicates that teens obtain approximately blank percentage of their information on drugs, sexuality, and health-related topics from their peers. From a developmental perspective, teens are moving away from parental and other adult authority and into the development of their own personal authority. And in this process, teens attach to and relate best to their peers. So you see, we wrote and described a process of, we wrote and described how teens relate better with their peers or depend on their peers or get access to the support from their peers. So first, we started talking about the number of hours of day that teens spend in school and in after school activities. Then the person in the next sentence talked about how that time is often spent. They learn, teens learn the most about drugs, sexuality, and health topics from those peers that they're around in school and after school all day. And then finally, the statistics about how teens grow from dependent to independent and possess their own personal authority, and making the case that teens attach to better their relationships with their peers. So problem statement can be done in about 4 sentences. You describe the population, you describe the impacts on them, and then you pivot and then make the case about why what you're proposing is a solution. That's usually how we do a problem statement. So when we get to the example at the end, I'm going to show you the problem statement with the 3 or 4 sentences. But that's a good start. That's a good start. So think about the population. Think about the impact. What happens if this project problem goes unchecked? And then what problem are you solving? That's disrupting the paradigm. How are you going to, build the case for why your program is a solution? And you do that with statistics and describing the positive and negative. There was a question from someone in the chat about grant opportunities geared towards the beauty industry. And I think you have to be very specific when you say beauty industry. Are we talking about aesthetics? Are we talking about inward beauty? Or is it a combination of both? And is it connected to health? So if you're thinking about appearance, try to tie it to some of the internal, intrinsic functionality of beauty. So how you feel about yourself, what you think about yourself, and how you see yourself. I'm working with a young group, a group of young Black and Latino teenagers. And one of the things that we do at the beginning of the facilitator does at the beginning of every session is they look in the mirror and they say something beautiful about themselves in the mirror. Seems simple, but it's very powerful. Next slide, please. Thank you. Very good. Okay. Where do we find grants? I shared with you about the Miller Business Center and the Foundation Center. You can identify grants and find them, build up, a filing system. We talked about the spreadsheet, where you can have a spreadsheet, which is a database of all grant opportunities that you find, and then a database of all resources or partners. So getting a mailing list together of the folks that you can partner with, as well as grants that you may identify. So the Foundation Center, Miller Business Center, you can absolutely target their assistance with Elizabeth. Two other places that I think are important is for you to think about New York State, the state level grants, anything from the county and the town. So let's start with the town. If you're looking at anything that a town government may be able to provide for you, you can start with your own town council representative. You can ask them. That's the town. If you're looking at county level, you can reach out to your county legislator and ask them specifically. Their staff, believe me, they are more than welcome, more than excited about providing community groups with grant direction, because there is a nice chunk of money at every county level that can be utilized for it. New York State is a little bit different. There is no New York State portal of every grant in New York State, but there is a program, I'm going to put it in the chat. It's called the Consolidated Funding Application. Okay, we call it the CFA for short. The Consolidated Funding Application is where we have, where you can find the majority of state agency grants. It is a portal. It's as close to a repository as we're going to get of almost all agency level funding for New York State. It's about 90%, about 80 or 90%. And Elizabeth put the link in the chat. Comes out once a year. There are some that are recurring or ongoing. So some are, on the cycle that closes, it opens in May, closes in July. And then there's like 20% of the funding for state levels that's available throughout the year through this portal. So I wanted to make sure you get familiarized with that. Any questions so far? Because we cover a lot. Any questions so far? Please, you can put it in the chat or even unmute. Okay.
Nicole?
Yes, ma'am. Donna?
Donna, right?
Oh, great. Yes, Donna.
I'm listening to all these wonderful ideas helping people with health and education, so on and so forth. I'm with BAFA, the Bay Area Friends of the Fine Arts, and our goal is to support culture. And we have 3 branches: an art gallery, a chorus, and an orchestra. And this is our 57th year. We're very proud of what we've done, but we would like to be able to expand our population to get more people into our audiences, and also more people into our 3 different branches. So could that be a goal unto itself, to expand? And we could use membership and attendance as measurements of how successful. And can we use, maybe marketing techniques, apply for money for marketing techniques to expand our influence?
Definitely. I think there are some grants that you can apply for that are specifically for culture and arts organizations, the New York Community Foundation is one of them that comes to mind instantly. They used to be called, they changed their name now, but it's now called New York Community Trust, NYCT, and they are very specific. It is all about culture and arts, music and expression. So that's a definite. That is a definite. The New York State Council on the Arts, NYSCA, has a yearly opening for grants as well. So yes, you can absolutely apply for grants that are targeted towards enhancing audience participation in the arts.
Okay.
However, don't stop with just measuring numbers at events. When you have folks at an event, I tell all my clients, it is so easy to just do a quick poll, just a quick QR code that asks 2 questions. Did you enjoy this program? Did you enjoy it? And would you return? If not, why not? If so, why? Real simple. And that way you can get impressions immediately. So the question is, someone asked, what resources does the town have? The town doesn't necessarily have grants specifically, but they have access to some grants that are federally funded. So there are some federal funds that town offices do receive in community development and economic development that they're responsible for helping to administer with federal agencies. I think specifically in most of your town's economic development division, you will find a contact for community development, some sort of grants that are backed by federal funding.
Okay.
And someone asked, should they replace New York with California for California opportunities? California is centralized. They have a repository as well, but their grant cycle is on a different season. Ours is in the summer. Usually theirs is in the fall.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely, Donna. Definitely, definitely. Jan said about mental health is a target for arts organization, but it's a difficult thing to measure. Yes, it is. That's why you got to spend time on developing your evaluation plan. You've got to spend time on the metrics because it can't just be cheeks and seats. And that's okay. Cheeks and seats is a metrics. Attendance is a metrics. But what else about attendance? Who are your attendees? Are you seeing an increase in LGBTQIA+? Are there seniors? These are things you can ask people really quickly. I just went to a museum where when I came in, I scanned a QR code and they asked me my age and race. When I walked in New York City, I just went to a museum. I walked in, they said, can you please sign in and scan here? I said, sure. I scanned, it said, hi, where are you from? What is your race and age? They asked me instantly when I walked in. Smart, very smart, because now they're capturing that data to be used in their grant applications. They can say, we are attracting a more diverse population. So when you're talking about attendance, who are your attendees? What is the changes in the patterns of folks that you're bringing in? That is what grantees care about. And Elizabeth, if you could unshare for one moment, I do need to say this. Regardless of what the national discussion is about diversity, equity, and inclusion accessibility, it's a reality. Every grant that I have written in the past 5 years has asked me, what is the organization's DEI commitment? Okay, so block out the political noise and focus on the reality. The reality is we are an increasingly diverse population in this country, not just in obvious demographics. Okay, we are also an increasingly aging population. And now they're talking about active aging. Have you heard that lately? Resilient aging. So I looked it up and AARP coined the term. These are folks that are over 70 that still work and have high levels of disposable income to volunteer and to donate. So guess what? I tell my clients, this is a population you should be targeting. Resilient aging population, active aging populations. So DEI is not just about race and gender. It's also about lived experience, geography, where you are and where you came from, and also what you're doing right now. So if you don't have a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement, you need one. You need a statement, and you need to have a commitment from the board. Okay, so until things change and go backward in time, which I don't see happening, we are going to be a diverse population. We're going to have 5 generations. We have 5 generations in the workplace, okay? We have people that are in their 70s working with folks that are in their 20s. 5 generations. That's more diversity than we've seen in the workplace in 35 years. So very important for you to have a DEI statement and a commitment. And we'll do a session on DEI. We did it 2 years ago. It was very good. Folks wanted to know, what does diversity, equity, and inclusion, accessibility, what does that mean for a nonprofit? We did a whole 45 one-hour session on it. And Jan asks, how is QR polling accomplished? Is there a third party? Nope. Go to canva.com. The Miller Business Center has free courses in Canva. You can do your own QR code. It's very simple. They basically have you open up a screen where you type in your questions. And when you save it, it says link or QR code. You can click it and send people a link right to their phone, or you can click it and send them that QR code scan, and the answers go right into a spreadsheet. You don't need anybody to help you do that. You can do that yourself for free. Also, Jotforms will do it for free. Oh, yes. And Elizabeth, can you put in the chat about the Canva workshops?
Yes, I was just looking at our YouTube channel to find it. We just had one last week. So you'll be able to watch a very updated introduction to Canva.
Yes. Canva is a game changer. Canva changed my whole strategy in my business. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I learned it through the library and from a student when I was teaching at LIU. I'm not going to lie. Somebody, the younger generation had to teach me. It is a game changer. I do QR codes and links with every client now. They get a survey from me every 6 months. And I use that to inform my marketing strategies. And if you could share the screen one more time, Elizabeth, on slide 10, and we're just going to talk about measurement and publication. So make sure you're measuring and publicizing your results by documenting your program outcomes through regular reporting, success stories, and newsletters. So how many of you have a newsletter? Can you raise your hand? Do y'all have an e-newsletter that you're sending out to the world? Yep. Thank you, Claravette. I was intimidated by Canva too. And now I'm a pro too. I'm an advocate. Yes, Canva, I love it. You could do flyers, invitations, QR code. You could do everything.
Logos.
Logos. Thank you, Lenore. We'll see you soon. Get the recording, definitely. So quite a few people have newsletters. All right. So if you don't have a newsletter, create one in Canva. You can go right into Canva. There's templates for free that will preload a beautiful format for you. And all you do is type in the content. It takes a little patience. Take the class with the library. Let them help you. But the newsletter will start to help you document what you do and report back on it. Really important. Success stories are so important, and grateful donors. So those are folks that are going to kind of give you a high five in a newsletter. You know, if they let you ask them, you know, can we feature you this month, you know, or this quarter? Next slide, please. Inform, engage, and acknowledge your board. It's, you know, I think it's very inspiring to have an award ceremony. I think that awards are really important and are also great optically and emotionally. So, you know, have a membership corner, you know, feature the work of a member or board that's really doing a great job in your newsletter. Next slide, please. So before we get into Q&A, because I want to stop at 10:05 for Q&A and discussion, but this was good. It shows what we really need to focus on in this grant space. So grant awards solve a problem. I told you that before. It's not enough to just say you're going to do this work because it's the right thing to do. Grants solve a problem. So what are the three building blocks? The goal, the objectives, and the outcome. So the goal is the ideal end. That's the solution to the problem. That's what I call the perfect world. The objectives are the activities to get there, and the outcomes are the measurable results of your activities. So if you can go to the next slide. The goal is the idealized end, spoken in future tense, that clearly identifies the population, location, and the end. So that's the idealized end. Be able to write it in a sentence. What is the visual, the envisioned future for this population? 100% health, generational health, benefits clearly experienced. What is the end in mind? And that's important for you to write because that's your goal. And then your activities, the objectives are the activities, and then you connect that to the measurable result. Next slide, please. The activities should be written. The objectives should be written as 3 outcomes. Excuse me, the objective should be written as 3 activities. I was getting ahead of myself. Objectives are activities. So these are things that the population is going to do. They're going to complete. The outcome should be connected to those activities. So for each activity, you should have in mind, what is the outcome going to be? What's the intended result? Next slide, please. What's the measurable result of that objective, of that activity? If they're going to be getting a coach on health, on their health, how to, negotiate or work with a doctor and a nurse and a healthcare staff, if that's what they're going to do, what are the activities and what's the result? So maybe there'll be mock discussions. Maybe there'll be mock-ups and then discussion. Maybe there's journaling and then they share the journal with their classmates. Any questions about that? So here's some samples of objectives. 100 at-risk junior high school students will increase their knowledge by 60% about the dangers of drug and alcohol use by July 1st, 2025. That is an excellent statement in your problem statement. That's an objective. That's an intended outcome, excuse me. That's the outcome. And the way that they're going to do that is by working with and attending courses with a facilitator that will discuss the perils of drug abuse and alcohol, the benefits of education, and the importance of goal setting. That's the 3 objectives. So make sure you have your goal, then you have your objectives and your outcome. So the outcome, the measurable result, is to increase their knowledge by 60% about the dangers of alcohol and drugs. And remember, we said, how do we measure outcomes? Do a simple survey. The first day, give them a survey of the program, and the last day, give them a program. Do a graduation and have them complete a survey about what they were supposed to learn. And Susan asked the question, how much by when? How much of what? There was a question here, how much by when? I'm not sure. Susan, unmute yourself or write it in the chat when you get a chance.
No,
Seems-
I didn't, it wasn't a question. It was just a statement. How much are you
Oh,
going
yes.
to do and by when?
Yep. Yes. That's
It wasn't
correct.
really a question.
Oh, just making sure. No, thank you. Yes. So your objective is what you're doing and when you're doing it, how much you're going to do it and by when. Yes. I like percentages. Increase knowledge by 50%. Increase success in looking for a job. I like percentages because you can measure it. I like it because you can measure it at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Next slide, please. Yep, your needs statement, those 4 sentences. So when you get an application that says, describe the problem, what are you going to do? Describe the program. This is what they're asking for. First sentence describes your population. Who are they? What are their ages? Where are they? Second sentence is, what are they going to do? You know, what is the intended outcome? You're going to reduce truancy by 30%, 40%. You're going to increase self-esteem, belief systems. The third sentence is going to be how you're going to do it. Students or participants will complete 150 hours of in-class discussion facilitated by a licensed clinical social worker about self-esteem, motivation, and will develop a life plan. And then the fourth sentence, of course, is the intended results. Students, once program is complete, students will have an updated resume, a life plan diagram, and will be able to present their life goals in a public speaking format, whatever your end result is going to be. So spend some time. Spend some time on that. Next slide, please. Oh, good. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and just walk you through a really good example from a student of mine a few years back. And then we can end with some questions. All right. So to address the need for minorities and women in STEM, the charter school is proposing a 1-year tutorial program for 6th graders that will increase interest in science and math and create an avenue for entry into STEM disciplines, and will cover the following: Dreambox adaptive learning systems that are tailored for the skill set of the student. They did an excellent problem statement. They actually won an award for this problem statement. First sentence talked about the technology of the future and how the workforce was not reflective or in keeping with the changes that were happening due to STEM. And this is really telling because this was back in 2019, 2020. And here we are, 2024, where 1/3 of all social media content in 3 years is going to be produced by artificial intelligence. So she was predicting it. She was predicting this back then. And she referenced some studies that found that United States produced only average scores compared to other students in China, Hong Kong, Korea, and Japan when it came to STEM understanding and application. Without this intervention, demand will not be met for available jobs in these fields. And without filling that gap, the U.S. economy will suffer. It was excellent. Target was Brownsville, Brooklyn, a charter school there. And she developed a 1-year program. I'll show you here. So it was 3 parts. It was chemistry, physics, and engineering. And the students spent 9 weeks on each of these critical elements of STEM. This is to provide baseline understanding. 25 students in junior high. And I'll go to the evaluation. Okay. Great logic model shows the input, the activities. Here's the activities. That's the objectives. That's the things they're going to do. This is how she's going to measure it. And this is the short and long-term outcome. Evaluation plan, pre and post survey. And she also tested. She used their standardized test scores from school. She sampled the population. and took their test scores, got permission from the school to compare that to the surveys. So this is educational, but the concept, I think what we were talking about, the concept is clear. It's following the thread from your population and what they do, the activities, and then the outcomes, and then tying that to the solution of a problem. And she picked a big problem, which was workforce development. I mean, she was essentially saying that if teenagers were not interested in STEM, that we were going to get passed by as a nation. And I mean, now look, we have elections that have been tampered with. Even Suffolk County Tax Department, as you know, their records were ransomed 2 summers ago. My information was, infiltrated. I got a letter, that security was breached for thousands of taxpayers. So this is a reality now. So important, I just wanted you to see and get a real look at what an evaluation plan and what an evaluation plan looks like, but also how you can also write a grant application. I just wanted to show you. So this is the methodology. That's what they talk about. What is your program plan? Okay, this is what they're talking about is your methodology. How are you going to do this work? Right? I like to break things down weekly. Now that's me, or monthly. I like it in calendar segments, a week, a month, a semester. I highly recommend you do that instead of measuring activity. So instead of saying we're going to have 3 classes and 3 tutoring sessions and 3 field trips, break those down into a curriculum. Break it down into a curriculum. It's neater, it's cleaner, and it looks more organized. Any questions about that before I move on to the next act? I want to show you something else. Okay. Any questions about that? Just giving you a minute. Oh, somebody has something in the chat. Where should the budget of an applicant? I will show you. So most applications will share with you a budget form. So when they did this for class, I gave them, I think, a federal or state template where they had to do a table with each unit broken down at the end and then describe it as a narrative. So usually the applicant will tell you, the application will tell you where the budget is supposed to be. Oh, the question is there a non-academic example? I don't have one. I don't have one on me now. No. I will make sure I do that for next time. A non-academic example. Yeah, I think if you were looking at maybe, activities that were more central related to culture or arts, like to Donna's point, if you are looking to enhance membership, I think you would just look at the goal holistically. What is the goal overall? The goal overall really is for folks to have a connection and deep commitment to culture and arts in their community. That's really what you're doing. When you're saying you want more folks to come out, what you're really saying is we want people to see this as a more centered part of their community. So when you're looking at a population, which is community-based, then you really get to describe the community itself, which is fun. That's nice when you can take it from a community perspective. You can describe the population using characteristics about the community. Because the real key is the population. Then the activities could be, instead of just attending events, maybe there would be some community-based activities that folks could do throughout the year leading up to events. I remember when I was teaching at Dowling College, this is just an example, they had Hansel's Messiah, and they opened up the concert to the community. And 2 of my family members joined, and they met every week for 8 weeks, and they practiced as a part of this regional ensemble, and then they did the concert together. And from what I understand, when they did that, when they opened up the ensemble spaces to non-students, it wasn't just Dowling students anymore, the attendance at the concert doubled because we all went, because our family was there. And my family members are still friends with the folks that they did Hansel's Messiah with. They said it was great. They went, they practiced with the conductor and this big orchestra, and it was really beautiful. And I thought that that was such an ingenious way for Dowling to connect their work to the community and increase their attendance numbers. So think about it that way too. So unless I know, Kristen asked about non-academic examples, was there a particular industry you were thinking of? Because I might be able to give something, just from my thought, from non-academia. Oh, she said, I work with Donna. You work with Donna Smosky. Okay, so that was this sample I just was sharing about what Dowling College did about 15 years ago with Hansel's Messiah. Was they did this, what they call, it was called the Community Ensemble. And so they opened up the whole series to the community. They sent out an application, a flyer. I gave it to two of my family members. They did it and they performed. They know some of the songs still till now. So those are really what I consider long-term commitments. Oh, manufacturing. Yeah, it's so funny that Joseph put that in the chat. I don't know how many of you ride the Long Island Railroad or the subway, but if you ride the Long Island Railroad, the subway, Metro North, New Jersey Transit, you will see these really interesting posters that say buildsubmarines.com. I don't know how many of you have seen this, but it piqued my interest and I went to the website. Very impressive. And it's essentially the Navy seeking over 100,000 people to work on 40 nuclear-powered submarines over the next 5 years. And it showed all the levels of career advancement, from basic, just out of high school, to some college, not really sure what I want to do with my career. And it showed all these career paths and metrics. I mean, it was really dynamic. And so I went, of course, to the application, because you know me, I'm going to look at the application. And clearly they got grants to support the education, transportation, and lodging for the 4-month training program. It's either in North Carolina, Virginia Beach, or I forgot the third location. And they got grants. So when I went to the application, they asked some very specific questions about your demographics. Who are you? Where are you from? How did you hear about us, etc. So for manufacturing, they put it very clearly that they were seeking to create 40 nuclear-powered submarines that do not have to be repowered for 50 years, that will take 150 or 100,000 people across the country over 5 years. That was their goal statement right there. And then they had statistics about international sovereignty and, our place in the world. I mean, regardless of what you feel about the military, I'm not getting into the politics of it. What I'm saying, it was a clearly thought out campaign to get folks. And it was based on this grant that they received to do it. So if you're talking about manufacturing, if you're talking about advanced construction or anything like that, it all ties to the workplace, to the workforce. So workforce is going to be the underlying statistics that you would use. Is the workforce, what are the nuances and the patterns of the workforce in that particular industry, defense, manufacturing? You would describe that. And then you would use that as the bolster or the foundation for whatever it is that you're proposing. So for nonprofit religious organizations, as long as it isn't proselytizing, you can be a religious organization and provide community support, meaning anyone can go there besides the folks that adhere to your religion. If it's based on proselytizing, meaning the person has to be a member of your particular sect, then there are some rules about who will allow you to apply for a grant. So Nayar asked about nonprofit religious organizations. So yeah, if you have a Salvation Army is a religious organization. That's a religion. But all of their programs are given out to the public regardless of background. That's like their standard. So if you're giving out products and services and support, regardless of religion, and you're a nonprofit and you keep those separate, there's 2 separate boards, right? So not the board of your church, mosque, or synagogue is not the same board that manages the public part. Then you can apply like anyone else. And you should have a track record. So going back to partnerships, remember we talked about those 2 databases. You want to have a database of all the grants that you find from the Foundation Center. The Miller Business Center will help you with that. Then you want to have a database, a spreadsheet of all the potential partners, all the people that are in the field that do what you do. They are partners that you can connect with and you can grow. You can grow your impact by partnering. Don't see them as competitors. Please don't. And Ann said that at BAFA, and I've gone, they have a fantastic art show every year. And the numbers grow more and more every year, because I know I was going because I had both friends and family that exhibited. So that's the one of the best ways to have, connected linkages to enhanced attendance, is the more you can bring folks that are connected to other people. And please feel free to unmute. We have about 10 minutes for some questions and comments and time. I remember one time we did do a in-person grants boot camp years ago, before COVID, before the pandemic, and Elizabeth and I were talking about possibly doing that again. We did do something in person over the summer. Attendance was not great. So that's why we were sticking with the virtual. But I guess Elizabeth may follow up with you all just to see if you would be interested in an in-person session where you could actually bring written portions of your applications, or portions of your narratives, or portions of whatever you're putting together that we could actually review and talk about as a part of this discussion. Yvonne said, please, in person. One person.
Would most people be interested in an in-person if maybe it was like a few hours where we're doing actual, writing, and then maybe critiquing and helping each other? Yes.
Okay, because that's what we did. It's been a long time, Elizabeth. That was what, 6 or 7 years
yeah.
ago.
Yes, for sure.
It was a while ago.
And does morning work for people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Nicole and
Okay.
I will
Yeah.
figure something out for the fall, maybe later in the fall. And we'll get back to you.
And we'll put it out there maybe as a poll. We'll have a morning session listed and then an evening, and whatever the majority is, that's what we'll do. That's another thing that's great with polls. Oh yes, I see a hand raised. Ann?
Just a suggestion, because I've done it, to reach out to your local and maybe statewide legislators to ask questions, because sometimes they have leads.
Yep. And they will give you the information. Ann is right. It's not the legislator that has the money, but they will direct you to the state and county funded pots of money, or the state or county funded programs, and they will direct you. And now what's really great is that they have workshops. Now the county and the town and the state, they do workshops before their grant cycle opens to make sure that you have what you need. But I'm glad to hear that you all are interested in person. I will work with Elizabeth on that. We even had a participants guide. I created a workbook that folks got before the session, and they came to the session with the activities complete. We broke out into groups. We did the problem statement, we did the methodology, and we did the evaluation. It took about 3 hours, but people went away with basically a drafted application. Donna?
I'm can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Number one, thank you very much. I've been to several of your workshops and I think you're wonderful. And thank you to Middle
Thank
Country
you.
that makes all these great things available to us. I'm kind of trying to tie things together. When you talked about Canva, our office manager is phenomenal with this. Would we somehow, and you also talked about using some grant money for administrative costs. Is it possible we could tie that in to be hiring her to do things to promote? Okay.
Yeah,
And-
that is an application, that is a section of an application that I have seen from grant funding agencies like
Okay.
NISCA and the New York Community Trust. They will fund marketing support, which would be paying someone.
Mhm.
It would be paying someone to do that work. Yes.
Okay, and the second question is, can we hire you as a consultant to meet with us just, you know, I know you're not doing a commercial, but that would be one step better than doing a workshop with everybody, so that we can
Right,
brainstorm with
right.
you. Is that something we could do like separately to set up?
Definitely email me, Donna, because I could sit in Long Island, my community. There might be some things that I can coach and help you with for free.
Oh,
I
that
could
would
probably
be,
coach and help you with at no cost. Nothing's free, but at no cost, I should say, because it would take your time and mine. But yes, I do this as a consultant on a specific particular basis. So I only help a certain number of folks a year, because I want to make sure I do a great job. Yeah.
okay, thank you. We'll be
Oh,
in
of course, of course. And I do hope we will find a time at the end of before the end of this year. And if you're interested in receiving my newsletter, send me an email, NicoleJeanChristian@gmail.com. I do a newsletter twice a year about issues related to diversity, equity, inclusion, grant writing. I send out tips and stuff like that. But Elizabeth knows the Miller Business Center knows how to get in touch with you all to invite you with enough time for our next cycle for sure. It's good seeing everyone. I hope this was helpful. Give me some thumbs up.